Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen.
Hello, beautiful friends. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Claudia.
And this is Shokran Very Much, the podcast. And this week's episode is called Striking a Chord.
Happy Monday, beautiful friends. It's been a while, but we are back with another POV episode. Just to remind everyone, POV episodes are a chance for us to get to know inspiring people within our Coptic community who have forged their own paths and are pursuing their passions, like our previous POV episodes, Joe Carlos and John Abdu.
Episodes 7, 8, 16, and 17.
There are a lot, but it's good because we like to spend a lot of time with our POV guests who share with us their amazing journeys. This week, Natalie and I are excited to be stepping away from the sports and into a world we both love, music. Our guest today is a music supervisor who not only works on commercials for companies Hard Rock, Zara, Kate Spade, and Steve Madden.
Wow, you really did do your research.
Your ads are so good. I literally buy everything.
She's like, it works.
Thank you.
But also on soundtracks of epic movies such as, and there's many, but I'm listing one because I actually love this movie and I was shocked. Open Water 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I was super excited to hear this because shark movies are my favorites to watch with my dad. We watched it on premiere day in theaters.
No way.
I'm dead serious.
I've only watched Jaws.
I've actually never watched Jaws.
It's a traumatizing experience.
Okay.
It is.
I mean, this one was also a traumatizing experience.
Yeah. I mean, I could barely get through it.
Yeah,
myself,
I mean, in my intro here, I wrote, I love to watch shark movies, at least the parts I can keep my eyes open for.
There you go.
I've never seen my dad cover his eyes in a movie before, but this was the first.
That's crazy. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's really
regardless of all of these amazing accomplishments, I can't wait to learn more about her journey in this amazing field and can't wait for all of you to be inspired the way we are. Our guest this week is Yuanna Kirolos. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
We're so excited to have you.
Thanks.
This episode's been a long time coming, so we've been counting down the days.
Oh man, no, I have too. I love this podcast and I listen all the time. And you guys were on my Spotify Wrapped.
No way.
Yeah, I think this show is amazing. I think you guys do such a good job, and you're so talented.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I mean, we only do a good job because of amazing speakers like you. So we start every episode with an icebreaker, but you didn't know this one.
No.
Okay, you work on movies. So if your life was a movie, okay, what would be the title and what genre would the movie be, and why?
Wow. Well, I know the genre would probably be rom-com, just because that's what I watch. That's 100% of what I watch.
Yeah.
Same.
It is film's best category, in my personal opinion. What it would be called? I mean,
let me ask you this to help narrow down the title.
Yeah.
Are we talking Hallmark rom-com or like one of those?
I feel like we're talking 90s, You've Got Mail type of vibe. Like a little best friend's wedding. We're talking about old school 90s rom-com vibe.
I like you, bro. I just knew that me and you were gonna immediately.
That's the vibe. I feel like it would have to be called something silly. I don't even know. Yeah. Rapscallion in the City. I don't know. Something silly.
Wait, Claudine, I want you to answer this question.
I don't even know.
I fully know what I would name mine.
We would never leave today. I have no idea what I would call it.
It would be a rom-com. Call it something like How to Repulse a Man, but in a good way.
This is like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
It's one of my favorites, so I was inspired.
Natalie, get us started.
When did you know that you were going to pursue a career in the music industry?
That was so dramatic.
So it wasn't until I was a junior in college till I knew. I went to school to study psychology, and I was gonna get my PsyD and do the whole thing. And then I minored in music history just because I've always loved music. But I never intended to do anything with it, just for fun. And then it was through that I met someone who was going to become a very influential person in my life named David Leaf. He was one of my professors. I took his class on music rock documentaries.
Wow.
And after presenting the final was like we were supposed to make a mock documentary on an artist that we loved using existing footage. So after that, he asked me to be on his production team, and he hired me, gave me my first job in college, and then really became my mentor. So he introduced me to my first music supervisor, and helped me get my first like internships in the music industry, and ultimately he got me my first job out of college at CBS. So I kind of owe everything to that guy. He was the one that made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just had like an innate talent that you didn't unlock before that.
I don't know about that. He saw something. And I really trusted him. He was like he is a really, really good person. And yeah, I think it just takes someone believing in you to help you believe in yourself a little bit, you know?
Wow.
So he was that guy for me. He's still there at UCLA teaching.
She just casually dropped, like, I went to UCLA.
Well, I had to give David Leaf his flowers, you know?
Yeah.
David Leaf.
Okay. Tough question here.
Yeah.
How did your parents react when you told them you were going to pursue a career in music?
Yeah, they were wary at first, for sure. They were nervous about it. Like, they didn't really understand it, and, like, that's fair enough. They were scared. They thought it was just going to be super competitive, and they didn't know if I would find a job. And yeah, everything that they had heard about the music industry kind of scared them. And I was going to get my PsyD, so I had like a lot of grad school ahead of me. So the idea of not going to grad school, they did not like. I think that was the hardest for them to grasp. So yeah, at first they weren't so hot on it, but after lots of, talks about it, discussions, they eventually were on board. We agreed that I would have 3 years after graduation to like pursue it. And if I wasn't successful in that time, I would have to like reassess, go back to the drawing board. So, eventually they were on board. They were quite supportive, thank God.
Oh, that's great. I like that there was like, that you mentioned like there was a conversation, because I feel like that's something that's lacking a lot. When we were talking to John Abdu, he said this statement that we then use in all P.O.V. episode. He said like the big five, like medicine, engineering, and all of that. And often there's this huge like issue when people try to stray from that. And so the fact that like there was importance behind having that conversation, and it wasn't like they just completely agreed with you, like they still came to like, okay, you have this allotted time. So I think just like it's important for parents to listen to their children, it's important for us also to look at their point of view. And so
100%. And I feel like that time frame, that like those 3 years helped motivate me, and like it gave me something to work towards and to strive for. So they always know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing, thank God.
Did you ever feel like pressure to become part of like a traditional, like one of those Egyptian careers?
the big five.
Even by like maybe like extended family or friends?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I feel like it's really easy for us to fall prey to that. I don't know how much of that is like direct pressure from my parents versus me self-assigning my own stress, just because like my older sister is a lawyer, my older brother is a doctor. So yeah, I think a lot of that was my own, pressure to like to please, or to make my parents proud. Yeah. But yeah, definitely did feel that pressure from my extended family as well, my aunts and uncles for sure. But time heals.
Yeah. Can't escape the times.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, but totally, like I totally understand what you're saying. Like so many times we're like, like when you're in high school and stuff, you're like, well, my parents want me to do this, and but when you get into it, you realize it's actually me. Like I'm the one who's putting myself under so much pressure. Like I need to do this and I need to do that. And
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like you said earlier, like we hear a lot of things about the music industry that maybe raise red flags or whatever. How do you show Christ in a workplace or in like a field like that?
Yeah. So I think for me, like I try to treat everybody with like kindness and gentleness and respect. Like that seems so obvious, but I feel like when you enter the workforce and you're seeing the same people, interacting with the same people day in and day out for years, like kindness goes a long way. And like people can kind of feel when you're a genuine person with them or not, especially like when the times get rough, just maintaining that. And then, like the simple things like keeping my cross on my neck or on my wrist, that'll like spark conversation a lot, or even just like sharing my life with my coworkers, like when they ask me what I did over the weekend, just not being embarrassed to talk about my church life, or not, just not shying away from like mentioning the Lord's name when it does come up in conversation. I feel like in this industry, there are definitely a lot of people who don't share our faith, and it's like a lot of the times it's, they actually very much have a distaste towards Christ and towards Christians. So I try not to like proselytize, and it's more just like I try to show Christ through actions and spirit as much as possible. And yeah, it's amazing how like curious people can actually be. I feel like there's been a lot of cases where people have like asked me about God and why I believe in God, and have asked to come to church with me, and it always happens in like the most random ways. Like I work from home now. Since COVID hit, I've been working from home, so I don't always spend I don't always get face to face with like everyone at my company. So there was like this one time where we were hanging out after a work event, and there were some new people there, and then there were these two people talking about their experience with Christianity growing up, and they did not have a good experience with Christianity growing up. And then other people were kind of like piling in and really piling on Christians, and I'm kind of standing there twiddling my thumbs, and I'm like, yeah, actually I'm Christian, guys. And one of my coworkers next to me like gasps and then is like, that's cool. And like it was like super intense at first, and then we just laughed it off. And then later that night he like pulled me aside and asked me about my faith, and we had a really, really great conversation about spirituality, and it was very unexpected. And yeah, so it's so random how it happens sometimes, but I feel like God always finds his way to work.
I feel like it's
subtle
always
moments.
I feel like it's always like the simple things that make such a big difference.
100%.
I mean, just sometimes if I'm having just a bad day and somebody smiles at me, it's like, whoa,
makes a difference.
Today's gonna be a good day.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
I mean, you already touched on this, but I guess, have you ever like encountered any stories or instances where the power of music played a big role in someone's life?
Yeah. Selfishly, I think of myself. Like when you ask that question, I feel like for myself, even just growing up in the church, like as a young female, you can question like what your place is and where you fit in, like, and where you fit into the ritual of it all. And I feel like when I was singing in our congregation, like I felt like I belonged there, and that I felt like my voice mattered there. And yeah, I feel like that can't be a singular experience. I feel like that's probably the experience of a lot of Coptic kids, like growing up, just what worship in the church does for you, like as a kid is powerful. And then, yeah, I have a few friends who are like music therapists, and what they do is fast. Have you heard of that before?
No, I have not.
It's like people that use music to heal, essentially. So it's like they basically use like clinical and evidence-based music interventions to treat people and to help heal.
But
now
what
I know
type
what
of
I
music?
Like it can be different methods. So sometimes it really is like playing for sick people in the hospital, like, and coming consistently, and like sometimes they'll write songs with them, like with their patient. Like it can completely depend. It's
really
it's based
cool.
on
That's so nice.
and like they have incredible stories about how music has touched. So I feel like it's endless, those stories, right? Of how
That's
like
really cool.
of the effect that music can have in people's lives.
I really love how our church incorporates music. Like, I know it's hymns and everything, but hymns really has like a very large musical element. And I love the way the church admits, like, we need music, and it's such a good way to remember things and really process them and feel them too.
100%.
Because when you're singing hymns, like, there's just certain hymns like get you feeling like down, not down, like, but like when you're singing like Holy Week hymns, it's different than when you're singing like the resurrection hymns or Christmas hymns. Like, and I just love the way our church does that. It just
100%.
It always like speaks to me. Like, that's always been my favorite thing about the church, the hymns. So
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. Yeah, there's very few things that speak the way that music does, I feel like.
describe a typical day in the life of a music supervisor. Like,
Yes.
how do you discover new music? How do you select music?
Yeah. So, for those who don't know what a music supervisor is,
Oh yeah, we should have asked that. Explain what a music supervisor is.
A music supervisor is somebody who syncs music to visual media. So they oversee all music-related aspects of film, television, commercial, video games, whatever it might be. And in essence, they are selecting the music, clearing the rights with the people who own the music, so the artists and the songwriters, and then they license all of that, make sure it's all kosher and legal. So those are responsibilities. In terms of what a typical day looks like, so you serve as the liaison between your client, right, who is like the filmmaker or like a brand, whatever it might be, and the rights holders, right, the music rights holders, the labels and the publishers. So you would be sending emails to any one of those parties, answering calls, meetings, that kind of thing. Sometimes it's a music search day. So sometimes I'm just searching for the right list of songs to send to a client that day, and making playlists and stuff like that. In terms of how I would find music, a few different ways. Like, I'm an avid Spotify user, so all my music is there, and all of those playlists, all those like curated playlists, all those song radios, I spend a lot of time there. And then it sounds kind of cringe, but like, I always say at work that like TikTok is the new radio, because it very much is. It's very ingrained now in the music industry, whether the music industry likes it or not. But there's a lot of emerging artists on that platform, and producers and songwriters, like really talented people who are getting signed left and right from labels and publishers around the world. So a lot of like untapped talent there, and it's good for me to just be paying attention to what's happening on TikTok. And friends, when your friends send you songs, like they know you best. That's when I always find my favorite songs. When my friends send me songs. So yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, you kind of touched on this just a little bit, but can you give us like a glimpse, like a deeper dive into like the behind the scenes process of selecting music for a film or a TV show?
Like Open Water.
Yeah.
Open water.
Definitely. So it's very different from like an ad. So I work for a brand agency, so a lot of the work I do is commercial work. So commercial campaigns and TV broadcast spots, digital spots, things like that. A lot of the times with those things, a client will come and they'll say that they want to use a song by Beyonce or Adele or Taylor Swift or some other artist that they can't afford. For context, like one song for a commercial, for like a national TV commercial campaign from one of those artists can cost into the 7 figures. So it can be astronomically expensive, and some people aren't prepared for that sticker shock. So that's where it gets fun. That's when I can dig in and send them alternate song suggestions that fit the vibe, fit the creative, but also fit the budget.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for brands. And then for...
Can I interrupt for 1 second and ask a follow-up question on that?
Sorry.
So where is the difference when you're selecting music for maybe a brand like Kate Spade, where it's more like fashion, or like hard rock, where it's...
Yeah. So it is very dependent on the client. A lot of the times they have their own goals that they're trying to accomplish. Like when hard rock first came to me 5 years ago, they were looking to like rebrand. They wanted a new sound. They didn't want to be associated with that same old kind of classic rock sound.
Yeah.
They wanted a fresher sound, like a more indie pop. Like I remember at the time they said like a Sophie Tucker type of sound, but they couldn't even afford Sophie Tucker at the time. Their budgets were really limited. I know it's surprising because it's hard rock, but But yeah, so that was a fun one. Like we got to dig in, and we used an emerging artist named Club Yoko. Same kind of sound as Sophie Tucker, same kind of indie pop sound, and they've been able to use them actually every year since. They've renewed them every year since, and we've expanded their repertoire and stuff. But it really just depends on the client. So hard rock specifically had that in mind. Kate Spade had their own vision. Like they that year wanted to focus on like big Broadway musical sound. It really just depends on the client and their needs in the moment. It can vary.
Yeah. So I interrupted. Back to the movies.
When it comes to like filmmakers, for creative media, that also very much depends on the filmmaker. So the music supervisor wants to meet the needs of the director and the producers. So they will tell the music supervisor like what their vision is and how they expect the music to enhance that vision. Sometimes that means they already know what songs they want to use. and that's totally fine by me. If they know what songs they want to use, it's my job to try to get them those songs. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they really just like rely on you and your own guidance, your own expertise. And and that's when you would dig in and kind of curate the soundtrack together hand in hand.
Very cool.
Yeah.
As a Christian working in the secular music industry, like what challenges have you faced and how have you navigated those challenges while staying true to your faith, but also continuing to grow in your career?
Yeah. It's no secret that some funny stuff happens in Hollywood. It's no secret that there is a lot of sex, drugs, and money in this industry. It is the truth. And it can be tempting to get swept away in the lifestyle of that. And again, I do work from home now. I lived in LA for 10 years working, and when COVID hit, I was able to move to Orange County and be closer to family, and thank God I've been able to still work from home. But this job does still require lots of networking, and you have to go to events and concerts and shows and happy hours and festivals, and there's some travel involved. So you are put into situations that can be dicey, and when you're surrounded by people who want to party and party hard, it can be tempting being in those environments. So I just try to avoid those sites and situations as much as possible. Like sometimes avoiding isn't possible, and in those moments you just try to take God with you into those spaces and pray for protection and guidance and self-control and patience and all those things, so and then so I would say that can be challenging. And then just in general, like what we said earlier, music is so powerful, right? And it literally can seep into your mind, body, and soul. It has the power to change how you perceive like the world around you, like obviously your friends, your family, your own self-perception. So it's obviously so massive, and not everyone is going to yield music for good, right? There are artists, and really popular artists, that sing about topics that are like very much not aligned with our values. And I always have to have my guards up against that as well. Like in my position, it's always going to be, I'm always going to have to listen to new music, and I'm always going to have to keep up to date and listen to what's coming out. So I do find myself all the time listening to stuff I shouldn't be listening to. Yeah. And that's when I try to keep it pushing, in one ear and out the other. But I would be totally lying if I said I don't struggle with that all the time. And I have to go through my own playlists and purge them of that type of music all the time. So I would say that's another challenge, an ongoing journey, I would say.
The music industry is one of the most unifying industries in the world. There's almost nothing in the world that bonds the way music does. What do you think that the Coptic community can benefit from learning from the music industry?
Dude, there are so many Coptic people who are so talented in music. There's a lot of really good singers and musicians, and I just want more of that. Like, I want more Coptic people boldly using their voice, and like there are some people who put stuff out on SoundCloud, and I think it's so cool, and they're so awesome, and I just want more of that. I feel like I want more people to record music and write music and put it out there, and I really just feel like there's space for Coptic people to make their stamp in music, like, and on the music industry. Like Elvis himself recorded 3 worship albums, and he was, the most popular artist in the world. Like, I feel like there is room for a Christian music revival. We need more Christian music. I feel like there's room for that, and we need it. And I agree. It's the most powerful thing. Like, that's what we need more of it. We need more Jesus music out there.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the huge point behind these POV episodes, just to show people like there is a way to do these things that we're all just, a lot of times they're like, oh, this is just my hobby. I'm like, you could make this into a thing. Totally. Plus, we're like, you were just talking about how certain music, like where it just doesn't meet our values, like we can't listen to it, whatever. Sometimes we're waiting for a change to happen. And I love that you're saying like there's room for people to leave their print on it, and for Coptic people to go in and just make their mark. I think people love to watch soccer or like basketball or whatever. Like, I don't know, because we live in the US, so it's everything, but they'll be watching professional sports like, how come there are no Coptic people? Like, why don't none of you get up and like try out?
I'm saying. You tell them.
If you get anything, I hope it's just get up and do it yourself.
And I love that yes, you guys are literally the perfect example of that. Like, the perfect example.
As are you.
Oh yeah.
Like, I didn't know that music supervising was a thing, first of all. And when I heard about it, I was like, this is something very cool.
That's what I thought when I heard of it. I didn't know about it.
I didn't know about it either.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the whole point of introducing you to everyone is like the idea of people. I feel like it's easier when you see someone do it to maybe not even follow in their footsteps. Maybe you take something and make it your own. But just when you see people do things that aren't normal, it begins to feel like, oh, it's possible. This isn't just
I agree.
Some hypothetical dream in my mind.
Totally. Yeah, and I feel like if you lead with your heart, right? Like you just follow your passions. Like if I didn't take the music history minor for fun, then none of it would have happened. Without any intentions behind it, just pursue your passions and have fun with it, and then maybe it can lead to something more.
What was the coolest thing or the most memorable experience for you on the music side of things?
Yeah. Thank God this past year has been a lot of fun. This summer I was able to travel to New York to attend the premiere of a TV special that I music supervised. So I got to attend the Tribeca Film Festival. It was my first time attending that, and
you're cool, bro. These are things I read about.
No, that was really special. I got to like watch it in theaters with the directors and like the cast and everybody, and see my name roll by in the credits, which is so surreal, and so grateful for it. And then, like a few weeks after that, I got to go to Lollapalooza this year for the first time. This was my first time visiting Chicago. I got to go with my my music team, and that was awesome. We were super lucky. We got backstage passes, so it was super fun to just be hanging out and see some of my faves. And I fell in love with that city. Like, I fell in love with Chicago, and I can't wait to go back. So it's been a fun year, thank God.
We had a lot of fun, Yuanna.
I had so much fun talking to you both. Really, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. You know,
of course.
Once we found out what you did, we were like, we have to have her on. This is so cool. We're both music obsessed.
I'm glad.
Shokran very much.
Shokran very much.
And shokran very much to everyone who tuned in and listened. Please follow us on all our social media accounts. There you can receive updates and send in topic and speaker suggestions, which will be in the show notes. Shokran very much for listening, and
we'll see you next week.